Mhm.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Tia, Beth, Christy. I'm
Hello.
Laura Leigh here. We were just starting a conversation, hoping that people would join us perhaps and understand that we got into a conversation starting today that has to do with meeting people's troubles, all of our feelings of heaviness, troubles in the world that are going on, terrible things that we're seeing. We know and have admitted we all do all the time see these things, and each of us may think on certain days that our lives are just undoable with certain issues. And that's another thing we need support with, is to get support to say some of these things seem absolutely undoable. And at the same time, we were reminding ourselves that sometimes you want to be validated for exactly what you're feeling and you need help. But you also value and support group, whether it's a group like ours or other groups that you find, or that you might be getting a different perspective of our collective issues. And we can all go on and talk about that. I was sharing a story just in our news article in the New York Times, a gentleman, Frank Bruno, who wrote about that he was going blind with an affliction that he had, congenital, it's getting worse. And he realized that as his sight was going away, he realized how much he suddenly, of course, valued it. We all have those moments about our health. And that he was starting to see everybody, he thought, he called it in a different way. We see in the light and seeing better in some ways, because he was noticing everybody has a story. And he said he saw a man on the corner who was wearing the sandwich board, was listing a lot of his issues that he needed help with. We all have a sandwich board in our life. We all have a history, a story of loss and grief and joy and hard times when we thought we couldn't make it. And we mostly, a lot of us got out of it by reaching out to other people and collectively understanding they have that problem now, and I might be for those people at another time. But for right now, I've got this problem. So it's just that balance. And you might have in caregiving a lot, no matter what the situation is, that other people are having their same issues, similar issues in their life that we maybe all need to be aware of.
Yeah, I love that image of the sandwich board. And more so, I mean, I love all the conversations that we have with this group and with my other, spiritual groups and the financial groups. I mean, there's so much that we're beginning to talk about caregivers. But what I really, really love about what you just said is that really gets to the heart of it, is that we all are messy and that we all have something on our sandwich board. And and there's a lot of different ways that we talk about that. We talk about being vulnerable, and there's great authors who write about that. And we know that there are other people who have it worse, but when we're going through something, it feels hard. But the part that I think is really the work that we're doing here right now is to make sure that people just know that it's okay to be a mess and be messy, and to have things on your sandwich board, and to have problems in your life, and to have history, and to sometimes be able to climb out of it, and sometimes need 20 people to pull you out of it. But whatever happens, just be okay with getting help. Like, just whenever that happens, don't go it alone, because you don't have to. And whether it's a health professional or a business professional or a nonprofit professional or a government professional, all of us truly, honestly care about the people who ever are in our path. And I just want to, I love that image. I just love that image. So there's a lot of different ways. And you're talking about the value of support groups, and maybe you want to say a little bit more about what that meant to you at whatever time. I personally, I did not find Yeah, and everybody has different experience, but I didn't find the support groups to be the place that got me out of my funk when I was in it. Right. There are other things that happened for me, but support groups are great for so many people and so many reasons, and it's a good starting place, and it's a good finishing place for some. Grief and bereavement. You know, a lot of the hospice work we do has the bereavement and grief programs that can really provide a lot of support. Churches, synagogues, temples, they have bereavement programs. So,
and sometimes what I call, I'm sure everybody's familiar with your family of choice. We call it, sometimes it's not your biological family. I think that you were talking about you walk with that friend that saves you a lot of days. And I think that sometimes we create our own support groups of you don't want to say your very best friends, you know, you wouldn't compare them with other friends in your group, but you know, there's a group. And I know at one point when I went through some trauma, they just came together and bonded for me. And I was living in one of their houses during the trauma, and they were just rallying for me. And we know that as caregivers, because we're often that rallier person being that. So you might be on either end, but they called themselves the council even. Like, you know, they named themselves the council. We've got to go and help her and be with her. So I think we have it in different ways, but you have to see that you're vulnerable and be willing for people to really help step in and help you, because you might be trying to really go it alone all the time.
Christy, do you see a lot of, and Beth, do you guys see a lot of people who are, you know, trying to go it alone, or do you know, the clients that you see and what you experience, like what's your experience with people, and what are you trying to help them understand?
Definitely with, you know, the Office of Senior Services, you just have a, you know, generations of seniors who have probably done it alone for a lot of years. The support systems may not have been there. The support groups may not have been there. And just that, you know, that toughness that they can do it alone. And so now, you know, oftentimes I do tell people, like, this is what we're here for. And if you ever need anything, reach out to me, whatever it is. And if I don't know the answer, we'll find out the answer. But a lot of times, you know, seniors are very proud. They don't want to accept help. You know, they just feel like they can do it alone. And sometimes just letting them know, you don't have to do it alone. This is why we are here. There are resources. You know, usually you can do some talking and them into it, at least accepting a little bit. And sometimes that leads into a lot.
So that leads me to the whole idea of pride. Because I have a lot of pride. I don't, as a caregiver, I can do it. I can do it myself. I don't need anybody telling me what to do, you know, and I'm not being antagonistic. I really honestly can do it. I've got my family, everything's okay. This is my life. I got myself into this mess. I can get myself out of that mess, you know, like that. How, you know, how do you help someone like me who has so much pride, right? We want to do things ourselves. Hey, Beth, what do you say to the proud grandparent?
Well, usually what happens is someone either tells another person about the group, somehow they discover the group and they come, and it's usually one of two things. Somebody comes and they have no idea what we're about, what we have to, nothing about resources, nothing about, they just know their own situation and they don't know anyone else in that situation as far as the grand families support group. So when they get in there, their eyes are like wide open. I'm not alone. Everyone's going through this. I am in a place of understanding. And then they relax. It's all about, you could just see it all over their body. When they first come in, they're very tense and a lot of the unknown. And then they're so happy to hear about other people and to not feel alone and to get those resources. So it's great. Or they are in a counseling type situation, and it's recommended to them that they go to this group because this will help them to feel inclusive and to give them things that a counselor cannot give them.
Mhm.
That's what I find.
Yeah. That sounds-
The support groups are good because you're getting firsthand knowledge from other people in that situation who, maybe can give you ideas. Even when we look at Alzheimer's as support groups, ideas on how
Mhm.
to work with their loved one who has Alzheimer's. Things that will make life easier or easier for the patient even. So it's great to share the information, which I'm sure, in the grandparent support group, there's a lot of information shared that's helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's probably got at least one big, if not two overlapping parts of their sandwich board, So if everything else is different, you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what happens at my house, kind of thing. And it might jump off and two of you might go off and have lunch or plan something else. And you've got a friend that you don't even need this support group anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
So
do,
some possibilities.
I do encourage people to, if they connect with somebody or they have questions about what someone spoke to them about, or they choose to exchange contact information, please feel free. I mean, I don't do it, but I think that can be really helpful. As you said, if you have something very much in common, because all of us have a lot in common, but we all have differences, just like anybody.
And I always feel like it's perfectly fine to go to a support group until you feel you don't need it anymore.
Right.
When I went to a support
Sure.
group, there were people who had been there just a few weeks and you never saw them again for one reason or another. I probably went a couple months maybe, and then felt like I was doing better and didn't need that support anymore. But there were people in the support group that had gone for years,
Right.
and that was okay too. And they became
Right.
friends.
Right.
Yeah, and that's true. So one of the things that we do talk about a lot is that wraparound team from a functional. So a support group is different than a functional wraparound team. And the functional wraparound team that the Caregiver Solutions program is really about is different. And so sometimes we do need people who can just help do things for us to take the pressure off, and learning how to be vulnerable with that as well, and identifying who are the worker bees, who are the people that are willing to get the groceries or willing to take an hour. And Laura Leigh, I wanted to tell you this because I have a connection in our community, and that particular person has a family member who they've added hospice. And so here's the thing. She had no idea about all the extra support that she could get from hospice. So when we're talking about support, can you talk to us a little bit about hospice support and what are like the modalities and things that can be added and how that can help a caregiver? Just because I said, just go around the block. She said, well, am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to leave when the hospice nurse is there? I said, of course, that's what you, right? So what are the kinds of ways that hospice support or, nurses that come into the home health people can support a caregiver? Can you speak to that medical phenomenon?
Sure. And I think that, what we've all seen through the hospice world, and it's changing in a little bit more modern world. But for a couple of generations back, we, saying the word hospice didn't really mean, I'll get extra care. It meant, here comes a Grim Reaper. And how dare you say, if it's not really true, and, how dare you say mom and dad are going to have 48 hours to live. And, it's like so many people, I hear so many people, hospice comes in the last 10 hours. And they're there to help be the people that feel a little bit better about helping the family when someone's actively dying and giving medications, but nothing about the programs. And lots of programs, and obviously the government Medicare and all that pay for a certain amount of actual service, which is certainly professional service. Nurses coming in, it's not cookbooked. Nurses coming, it's the kind of care we all need our whole lives medically. It's the kind of care that says it's not a cookbook. It's depending on what's going on with that individual and how the family's coping at any time in terms of what are the issues in your visiting, and you're the eyes and ears of the doctor and all that. Then we have the social work team that can come in as often as you need it, designed by you and the social work team, you and the chaplain team for end of life spiritual support from the family, even if individuals, they're not the ones with the end of life happening right then, but
And spiritual support, and as the chaplain, spiritual support is so much more than rites and rituals. We do
Same
rites
thing.
and rituals at end of life. We do that imminent care, but that whole thing about, we had a friend, Robin, and Nadine talked about Reiki, and there's, all kinds of readings and singing and just connecting and having conversations about the blessings of life, and to do life review. And there's great ways that chaplains
Right.
are able to do. It's just not, here's a way for have a good day.
Yeah.
It's
And yeah,
not deeper
or
than
getting
that.
saved one way or the other, what that means to people,
Yeah, it's not. It's not that.
Right. I used to work with a chaplain that would also say for caregivers, we can give a lot of hugs, and we can give kisses, and we can give prayers, and we can do rituals, or we can do none of the above if you'd like to talk about your life in another way. We're just there to support you in whatever that means to you about that other path of side of yourself and looking at life. So people don't know that this whole ball exists, and we won't even talk about the potential for at least 3 or 4 times a week having a professional home health aide being paid for to come in to help you with the very hard parts of the 2 or 3 times a week a bath, or the bed change, or all the things that are exhausting and very hard for people. As a person progresses, most programs do allow that home health aide to come a little bit more often. They can work with hired home health aides that you already have. Sometimes you let the home health aide you already have go away at different hours, and you've got at least 3 or 4 hours that might, get paid for under another program for hospice. So I tell people, no, if your loved one has a diagnosis and has fits the diagnoses for getting on hospice, if once that happens, if it's 6 months, hey, guess what? If they beat 6 months, good, we can keep going. It's only if they, if they start to really turn around and get well looking, you've got professionals to help you that. So
and that's the thing, they see that happen too, right?
Yeah.
In hospice, we see people getting all that extra nurturing, support, attention, love, and all of a sudden they're just rebounding a little. And so,
they'll come back. So I tell people,
so then they come off hospice, and then they go on their way for a while. And then, when they start to decline again, the family will bring them back on. But it's for the caregiver, it really allows a lot of a break. And so from that standpoint, sometimes caregivers and people need to go out to get support. But when you are at that end of life stage and you need support to come in, don't disregard all of the options, whether it's neighbors and friends who can support coming in and helping so that you can take a walk around the block, or exploring palliative or hospice care, what that means. Just ask the question. It might not feel right to you. Don't worry about that, but just explore all your options, and you'll get the support you need. But well,
I was wondering, Beth, about you. I was wondering about, certainly I know there's certainly elders that Christy's been involved with, certainly all of that involved with dementia care also, but with grandparents, you have an overlap there with people, let's just say, who are potentially statistically closer to the end of their life, we know we can all jump off a curb at any point with an accident, but somebody that's got, with grandparents, I know I've certainly thought about it. They're older, dealing with young children, exhausting already, but then they might be dealing with more chronic illnesses themselves, their husband or their wife with a chronic illness that they're also trying to deal with at a time in life you didn't necessarily think you were going to be dealing full time with children again.
Right.
So, yeah, I
Right,
thought
yeah.
about that a lot.
We all have many things going on.
Yeah.
It's like what everybody else has going on, plus.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate all of you and what you do. There's some things coming up. Beth is having a number of support programs. Do you want to share a little bit about your programs?
Yes, we're starting on Friday, the 4th of this month, March, with our first meeting of the spring. We meet March, April, May, and then again September, October, November. And we have a speaker from Child and Family Focus. And then April, we have traditional full support group meetings. And then in May, we have 2 speakers, one of which is going to be Tia in the beginning of May. And then over the summer, we continue to meet, but we meet more informally at playgrounds because we don't have babysitters at that time. And so we can keep our eye on the kids and catch up or support one another over the summer in a more informal way. So, yep. Thank you.
No problem. Christy, do you have things going on that you want to share? What's happening with the volunteer program? Do you need volunteers?
Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers in Montgomery County to help with a variety of different things for seniors. We're looking to expand what we do for seniors. Right now, we have a friendly calls group, which is going really well. A lot of the volunteers benefit as much, if not more, than the clients. So it's going really well.
What kind of a group is it, Christy?
Friendly calls. So
Friendly
we have,
calls.
Yep. So we have volunteers that are calling to seniors. Most of them live alone, but not all of them. Some of them have family members. Just spoke to a daughter today. She needs a break, and she, her mom likes to talk, and so we're hoping that the friendly call will give her daughter a break and gives her mom someone else new to talk to. So
the other thing that I wanted to remind people about is that Nancy's House, which is a respite out of Wynwood, they're having a retreat this spring, and the date eludes me at the moment, but if you have people who need to take a break and just get good caregiving, she's an institution, she's been around for quite some time, at least. Nancy's House is a place that I would definitely encourage a connection with if you just can get away for even a day. So check out their website. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. And
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, stay
Thank
well,
you.
stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.